Good morning. It is a foggy day here in San Francisco, which is not atypical and probably a little appropriate for the topic we're going to dive into today. I want to say first that I am truly thankful to each of you that is engaging with me in an honest dialogue on Instagram, in the comments, in your DMs, responding to the videos that I'm putting out, because it gives me a sense of where we all are and our common goals and our common struggles. And hopefully, I can help move us along as I move myself along. And that gives me the courage to tackle today's topic, which is shame. And shame is a topic that I'm tackling in my current therapy and in my growth and in my evolution. And I also think that it's one of the most heart-wrenching experiences of the human soul. And the interesting thing is that everybody feels it. Brené Brown, who is the preeminent researcher on shame in today's times, talks about, I think, something like 11 or 12 different categories of shame. Everything from social status to body image to sex, you name it. Every one of us is experiencing this at some point in our lives. Nobody escapes it. Maybe misery loves company, but it's good to, I think it's important to know that. And the alleged purpose of shame is to, and I'm paraphrasing here, is to keep us in check. Essentially, it's to keep us from deviating from social hierarchies and social norms, because ultimately we are relational creatures and we need community for our well-being and also so we don't get eaten by a bear, right? Shame is effective because it hits at your self-worth. It's not about I did a bad thing, that's guilt. It is I am bad. And that can be paralyzing. And as the research shows, women and adolescents are more prone to feeling shame than other populations. And I suppose you can understand why if you apply the whole social hierarchies theory, but just pack a little extra punch for us, right? So what? So fuck that. People change, societies change, norms change. It's up to you to find the motivation and the courage to locate your shame, to face it, and then to release it. Otherwise, it will be an anchor that will hold you back for the rest of your life and potentially for more than that. Because guess what? And I hate to be the one to tell you this, generational shame exists. It's passed down and it's a really big one to address here. But if you're truly interested, DM me and I'll send you some resources. Brené Brown talks about shame resilience, sort of the antidote to shame. And the first step is understanding and naming your triggers. And this is tricky because shame does not come to you consciously. I mean, sometimes it does, but most of the time we're picking this up subconsciously, unconsciously through nonverbal cues, which is why people of authority in children's lives have to be really fucking careful about what they're passing down and how they're making children feel about themselves. Because that shit sticks. And then suddenly you're 45 and you're listening to some chick on Instagram talking about how to release shame because you don't know what the fuck happened to you. And that's the other piece of Brené Brown's resilience. Resisting the urge to isolate, because that's what shame makes you do, and to reach out to communities. And social media has a lot of flaws and has created a lot of problems in our societies. But maybe if we can use it for something good, we can reset some of that. It's about making yourself feel worthy again. Because somehow, somewhere in our lives today or our lives before that, we let someone or some society tell us that we were not worthy. Let me tell you a personal story about why I'm so gung-ho about shame busting, simply because it almost ruined my life. Now, I am and have always been a really sexual girl. I love good sex. I love good connection. I love intimacy. I talk about it openly. I like to touch and I like to flow and all of that good stuff. Guess how that has worked out for me as a woman, as an Indian woman, as a mother. Right? Not exactly the stereotypes of all of those populations, and frankly, quite the opposite, something that our society wants to repress on the daily. So yeah, it sucked. I got lucky. Somewhere along this path, I found the motivation and the self-love to deal with my shame. And I found guides and a support system that helped me pull out of those weeds and out of those dreads and find my self-worth. And I found that the path is this. It starts with acceptance. Then you have to layer on compassion. And then finally, it is all about self-love. It's about who I am, and these are my bits and pieces. And yes, even if you experience shame because it's something that you did, it's allowing yourself to forgive yourself and keep moving forward. So, whatever your particular brand of shame is, I mean, pick one from the Dirty Dozen. I'll drop a link to it below. Your job is to find it and to love the shit out of it and to reclaim your life. Because until then, it's not really a life worth living, is it? And guess what? Hurt people hurt people. So if you're walking around all this shame, I guarantee you're pinning it on the people around you, and a curse on you if you have children and are pushing that shit forward. I'm going to add one thing here, and this is for all you pervy men on Instagram. Just because I'm a woman who talks about how I like to have sex doesn't mean I'm interested in having sex with you or your DMs or any sort of stupid comments below. You will be blocked, you will be ignored, and finally, you will be exposed. So watch it. This is a serious conversation for serious people. Take your disrespect elsewhere. Wow, that's all that self-love speaking. Shame's a big one. Drop your comments below and let's see how we can tackle it together. Cheers.